Something that I studied for a long time, graphology, became something that is doubted by psychologists. Well, psychologists, they knock a lot of things if you can't prove it scientifically, which psychology itself can't really be proved scientifically. But the point is that graphology, that you could understand from a person's handwriting analysis, you could analyze the person from the way he makes his curves and he makes his writing, which I learned for a while. That is a study that is considered a pseudoscience. And that's something that's hard for me because I've learned it and I found that it's been true. And I just look at somebody's signature and I get a lot of things, maybe 90% accuracy. And I say a lot of things about a person from his signatures. People don't write much today. They only sign their name sometimes. And there's a lot to be seen in a person's signature, why they chose to make the letters the way that they did. If the school, everybody's taught the same way to make letters. It's like everybody has their own fingerprint, everybody has their own way that they like the curves and the letters to be different than they were taught, the government standard of how the letters should look. This concept that it's a pseudoscience because graphologists have not been right and more accurate than people who are not graphologists, it bothers me. To tell you the truth, it bothers me. We know that the concept of graphology is that everything that you go different than what's normal, any little subconscious choice, which doesn't make sense why you made it, that itself tells us something that's a message from your subconscious. We know that Balaam, he looks exactly like a righteous man in the Torah, and the way he's the story. He says, I can't go against the word of God. But you see in the Mishnah Avot that we have to give you differentiation between Balaam and Avraham Avinu, almost as if Balaam looked like such a righteous person. We have to tell you, no, Balaam is not like Avraham Avinu. Why would you think he is? But we're trying to show you from there that Balaam really looked like a righteous person. And how could you notice that he's not righteous? If you look at the words, he was asked by the people of Balak to come to curse the Jews. And he said, even if Balak gives me all of his storage houses of money, I still can't go against the word of God. Seems that's a pretty nice thing to say, especially because you know the story about in Mishnah of Rav Yossi ben Kisma. Rav Yossi ben Kisma was asked to leave a city of rabbis and to come to live with people who were simple people and to be a rabbi for them. And he said, I don't want to, even if you give me all the money in the world, I won't leave a place of scholars, right? He said, that's who I am. I'm a person who I stay in a place of Torah scholars and all the money in the world, I won't leave that. Seems that Rav Yossi ben Kisma is praised for this and Balaam is held accountable. Why? What's the difference? It's because Balaam was actually never offered the money. And if he wasn't offered the money, so we can make a deduction, why did you even say it? You know, psychology, especially in Milton Erickson, is much of it is focused on not only what a person says, also what a person doesn't say, and also what a person, how he says what he says. And that's what a good therapist is able to notice that in the person. This is the way of graphology as well. Graphology is built off of, if a person would sign his name, you could say that it's just because that's his muscles in his hand, that's why he makes the curves like he does. People who lost their hands or lost the ability to write, if they have to write, they're going to make the signature the same way that they make the signatures, as under the muscles. They like, for some reason, that the writing should be in such a way. We find sources of graphology in our rabbis. We know that Shlomo ben Geborel says that a person, when he writes, you could see about the person's personality in the way that the person writes. We know also that the Baal HaTurim says that Zibrim ben Salu was a person that he was inappropriate behavior. He did with the Kozi Batsur. And he was the head of the tribe of Shimon, and it says Nasir ibn Shimon, it says the lamed of ibn Shimon, the top of the lamed is cut because that's a sign of a Rosh Bet Av. And in graphology also, you could see the person's father relationship with this person through the way he makes the top of the letters of the lamed and the higher letters up. So this is the signs in the Torah that there is such a concept of the fact that the top of the lamed is cut off in the different scripts, in the Rambam script of the Torah. So that's the proof. The Baal HaTurim shows you that there is a concept of graphology from the Torah. But the whole concept of graphology is built off of the concept that a person shows you signs of his personality, shows you signs of what he's going through subconsciously from the way he writes his letters, the height of the letters, the place on the paper where he puts the letters, how deep and how hard he writes his letters. Using this wisdom of graphology, usually I'm able to predict and look at a person's handwriting and tell you the differences in Shalom Bayit, why the husband and wife might not get along, or the difference in the personalities. I'm able to tell you, in looking at somebody's signatures, many signs of the person. A lot of times it happened to me that people said, oh, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. And then afterwards they admitted that it was true. Or they said, yeah, this is not true, but something else is true, which is almost the same thing. So it's amazing that I found it to be true, but it's been referred to as pseudoscience. I use graphology not to, of course, tell us if a shidduch is a good shidduch or not a good shidduch. But I use graphology to help me see certain things that I might have missed by just reading the person that's sitting with me. By looking at the handwriting, I could see things. I can notice things that ask certain questions. Of course, nothing is for sure, but it's enough to give me a sign of maybe there's something to ask about this.